Hi, this is Simon Upstall and welcome to another tutorial for Apple Motion, and today we're going to be taking a look at building this working Zoetrope model. So the fun thing about this is all the mechanics of it are completely correct, and it does actually recreate the exact Zoetrope effect. So let's take a look. Okay, for this project I'm going with 1920 1080, a frame rate of 24 frames a second and a duration of 10 seconds. And the first thing I'm going to do is come over and bring in my asset, horse loop, bring it in like this. So this is something that I have pre-comped for you. I will give you a link in the description. It's based on this video clip, which you can access at pexels.com. Again, a link in the description. So this is a 12 frame loop of this horse, I believe, cantering around. I've absolutely no idea, galloping, whatever horses do at this sort of pace. Anyway, and what we're going to be doing is making a replicator out of it. So object replicate, and we're going to choose circle for the shape and outline for the arrangement. We'll have a radius of 540. Now there are 12 frames to this, so we want 12 points. Let's turn on 3D. Let's turn on align angle. Let's open up the angle. Let's set the X angle to -90. Set the scale to 20%. I'm also going to come over to properties, rotation, and I'm going to set that X rotation to 90. So now you can see we've got the horse running around like that. But we're not actually going to be using video. We are going to populate each frame of this image drum with a different frame of the horse cantering. I'm just going to add quickly a camera, so it's going to make it easier to see what's going on here. So let's just run over a bit like that. So the bit we'll be looking at through the slits is the back here. So in order to make this work, we are going to turn off play frames, because as I say, we don't want to be using the actual live animation. So we turn that off, and we're going to have a source frame offset of 1. And now you can probably see that every panel of the image drum has got a different frame of the horse. So then what we can do is select the replicator, come to its Y rotation, add parameter behavior, and rate. Now we need to go backwards with this, so I'm going to go -360. And if I run it now, hopefully you can see that that horse actually does look as though it's in motion, despite the fact that, as we discussed, every one of these is a still frame. So that's the magic of the Zoetrope. It's basically like a sort of film projector. So what we also need to do is build the exterior of the drum. So I'm going to select the rectangle tool, draw out a rectangle roughly like that, center it up. I don't want it to be black because we're not going to be able to see anything. So let's make it sort of a dark grey like that. And actually let's just drag that colour onto there so we can reuse it. Okay, so let's come over to the geometry for the rectangle, open up the size, and what we want is 295 for the width and 810 for the height. And I also want to add a rectangle mask to this. So I'm going to grab the rectangle mask like this, draw a slit like that, which is what we're going to be looking through. We'll need to invert the mask, and then let's set up the mask size. So I want 25 for the width, and for the height I want 230. I'm just going to adjust its position, so 0 out the X, and for the Y I'm going to have 245. So then we can duplicate the original replicator. Right click, duplicate. We could use this rectangle as the source, and we need to set the scale up to 100%, and I'm going to set the radius to 550. And let's just turn off the original rectangle. And I want to delete that rate of the Y rotation, and I want to link it to our original replicator instead, just in case we want to change the speed at any point. So I'm just going to select the Y, add parameter behavior, link, and select the original image drum replicator like that. And now they're running in sync. And maybe you can see that the effect is starting to take shape. Let's just maybe track in a bit with our camera like this. Now, this effect very much relies on motion blur. So I'm going to turn on motion blur. It's going to be a little bit difficult for me to show you this live because obviously motion blur is a little bit slow to render. I'm just going to reduce the shutter angle to, I think, maybe 120. Again, this is for the purpose of demonstration. The higher the shutter angle you have, the wider the window that you're going to see. Let's just try with this and see if it'll actually play back. Now, I just want to note that if you see at any point the drum appear to stop rotating, that's an optical effect on top of the optical effect we're trying to create, which is that the frame rate of the screen recording is accidentally syncing itself with the drum rotation and it's stopping the apparent motion. But anyway, let's have a look at that. Hopefully you can see through the windows the horse is cantering along happily. Okay, let's do a bit more on this. I'm going to reduce those samples down to 4 while we carry on. You can see that we just see those strips, the fewer the samples we have. So let's just quickly add a light just to make this look a little bit better. Set it maybe to 150% and zero out its Z position. And maybe just bring it down a bit on Y, it's negative 200. Then let's also add another light, and I'm going to make this a directional light, and I'm going to set its intensity to something like 30. I'm going to come to properties, have a Y rotation of 45 and an X rotation of negative 15. And then just so we've got a little bit of a fill coming in from the other side, I'm going to duplicate the light, set this intensity down to about 5, and the Y rotation to negative 45. So that's our lighting sorted. I'm just going to track out a little bit with my camera like that and do a little bit of modeling here. Let's grab the circle tool. Let's draw out a circle holding down the Shift and Option keys. Let's center it up. Let's set its X rotation to negative 90. Let's go over to shape, geometry. Let's set its radius to 600. Let's make it the same color as the body. So select that color that we stored there. Come to properties. So I want this to be the base. So I'm going to set the Y position to negative 360. Then right click duplicate. I'm going to turn on outline, turn off fill, grab that color, drag it into the brush color for the outline. I'm going to set this position to be 115. I'm going to increase the width like this. Actually, maybe let's go up to about 50 and then just reduce the scale a little bit like that. So we've got a hip there. Then let's duplicate this circle. Let's move it up to 410 on Y. So we're creating the top there. Let's roll over a bit. Let's increase the width to 75 and just reduce the scale just a little bit like that. Then to make these look a little bit less like circles, we could come to filters and stylize and extrude. We can set the angle to be 270 and the distance wants to be something like 20 or something. But you can see that that just gives it a little bit of a sense of depth there. So I can option drag that onto this circle here and onto the base like that. So they've all got a little bit of that extrusion. The perspective, of course, is going to be a little bit funky as we move the camera, but I think nobody's really going to notice that too much. So let's set up the camera move. Let's zero out that X position and let's zero out that Y rotation. Let's have a Y position of 200 and let's have a Z position of negative 200 as well. And let's set that X rotation to negative 25. So we're looking down into the drum. And you can see when we look down into the drum, we don't actually see the effect at all. We just see this random blur, but it's when we see it through the slits that we see the effect. That's why I want to start up here. So I'm going to keyframe the Y position and the Z position at frame 0. And I'm going to keyframe that X rotation. And I'm going to come to the end and I'm just going to fiddle around a bit until I've got the framing that I like. So it's looking a bit like this. So I think what I need to do is I need to adjust the keyframes here, open up the keyframe editor, Let's solo the X. Let's make this a Bezier curve. Right click, interpolation Bezier. Let's grab this handle, drag it along like that. Let's take this handle and do something like that. And that means we'll start seeing through the slits quite a bit sooner. So a couple of things you probably want to do. Let's close all this up. Let's come to the library, make sure we're compositing this against a black solid. So bring in a color solid right at the back. Set this group to 2D. Set this color solid to black. And we might also perhaps just drag in a tabletop. I don't know, it might be quite interesting. So let's come to this group here. Let's come to the library. Let's come down to content. Let's type the word walnut into the search bar there. Let's drag it into this group here. Come to the inspector. Let's reset the transform. Let's have an X rotation of -90 and a Y position of -400. And I think probably just having a tabletop just helps with a sense of perspective. And I think that is a little bit too bright and gaudy. So let's add a color hue saturation. Let's reduce the value so it's not too bright. And let's also take out some of that saturation. So there you go. For my version, I added in a few extra details, but really you can style this however you like. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Thanks for watching.